There are three types of powers that humans and Faunus can utilize on the world of Remnant. Dust and Semblance, which is widely available to everyone to use that currently resides in Remnant today. And then there's the third power, which is Magic, only available to a select few who nowadays can inherit it or who are left over from the previous world, Salem and Ozpin, who inherently have it, and used to be the power wielded by everyone in the first era of humanity. Now, these three powers are related to one another. They have similarities and definitely are distinct and different powers in my mind. And I want to have a brief discussion about this to get your guys' ideas on how you think these three powers relate to each other. Are they different? Are they the same? What do you guys think? So first, let's go over what magic is. And honestly, we don't know that much about it. Magic is something pretty mysterious in the world of Remnant, and we haven't been given a concrete definition of it. We know that it's the power to manipulate the elements, that it's something much more powerful than regular humans and Faunus are capable of wielding in the current time. But back in the day, as I mentioned, all of humanity was able to use it. It was a gift from the gods. The gods created humanity, and they gave them the power to manipulate the world around them. But beyond that, that's about all we know. We've seen magic utilized by the maidens to create storms of fire and ice and manipulate all these different things. Salem is using magic to manipulate the Grimm, things of that sort, but beyond that, we don't know the limitations of magic. We don't know how a maiden's power compares to Salem and how exactly they stack up, or, you know, how much it would take to exhaust a person's magic that they would need to recover. But the source of magic has always been the gods. The gods gave it to humanity. Yes, it was something that they were born with and they could learn to utilize, but it was the gods' gift to them. And that is magic's source, and that is the distinct difference from Semblance and Dust. But I do believe that magic is actually the, how should I put this, the source or what caused Semblance and Dust to evolve in the world of Remnant. And yes, I say evolve because the first era of humanity was created by the gods. The second era of humanity was created through evolution. The gods wiped out humanity, and the God of Light told Ozma, when they were in the parallel world, that humanity would rise again, essentially saying that it would evolve again. Remnant, in and of itself, in just the name of it, is a remainder of what once was. That first era of humanity, where humans strived and prospered, I can't really speak, and they had their magic, and magic inherently flowed throughout the world. Once all of that was wiped out, the world that remained, in my mind, kind of feels like an actual being. That it remembered what it once had, that humans were once there, that magic once flowed throughout that world, and thus evolved to create humanity again. Also evolved to have the Faunus. Not exactly sure why the Faunus evolved, but I'm not complaining in any sort of way. And with that, that knew that humanity, or it remembered that humanity had this inherent power, and thus developed Aura and Semblance, which I'm kind of including as the same power. And then the world itself, knowing that magic existed, evolved to have dust. Dust started forming in crystalline and powder form in the world and could be mined and obtained by humanity to utilize it. Now, it could always be that dust had always existed on the world of Remnant, and that, you know, it just wasn't used by the people in the first era because, hey, they had magic and had no need for dust. But I think that everything evolved because magic was taken away from the world. Thus, humanity evolved to have its own power, and probably also evolved to defend against the Grimm, who still existed in the world. And then Remnant evolved the dust, or started forming the dust as a way to kind of recuperate the magic that was lost inherently in the world. Now, because of these different sources, the dust coming from the ground itself, the Semblance being an inner source coming from the soul of the being using it, they are distinct and different powers. Even if you consider Semblance and magic the same sort of effects, which I honestly don't believe that they are, then their source makes them very different. But, as I mentioned, I don't think they're the same powers at all. And I know there's semblances that are utilized that are very similar to magic. But magic, although it has the ability to vastly manipulate the elements, similar to dust. In fact, I find dust and magic a lot more similar than I find semblance and magic. But, you know, all three are related. Magic can manipulate the elements to an extensive degree that we don't actually know. Dust can manipulate the elements, you know, individually, like fire dust can manipulate fire, wind dust manipulates wind, etc. Magic can just do all of that at the same time. You'd need massive amounts of dust to be able to do that, and etc., etc. But dust is kind of a lesser form of magic developed by the world itself. Now, semblance has such a wide variety of uses that I don't know if magic could actually be capable of doing. The example that I'm going to be pointing to, especially with this, is Raven. Look at her portals. I don't see magic being able to teleport to people or create portals to go from one person to another. So they're definitely distinct and different. Each person's soul gives an inherent power that is something very different from magic, that magic cannot replicate. For example, there is gravity dust, but I don't know if there's dust that can manipulate metal or polarity like Pyrrha could. And I don't think there's dust or magic that could create the glyphs that Weiss had. Yes, it could use gravity in the similar way that Weiss uses gravity dust in her black glyphs to hold things in place, but I don't think the glyphs themselves, or for example the summoning, could actually be used by the magic itself. They're very distinct and different powers. And then there's also the relation between dust and semblance. That semblance being an inherent power that human beings have, dust can be used to enhance and augment it. As I mentioned, Weiss uses gravity dust in her glyphs to make the black glyphs able to hold things in place, give it a little bit of gravity. We've seen Blake use dust in her semblance when she's creating her shadow clones, she can create a fire clone or an earth clone or various different forms. Dust and semblance work hand in hand to kind of make an evolved form of magic in my mind, because dust and semblance together can do things that magic can't. Hell, semblance in and of itself, as I said already, can do things that magic can't. So they're definitely distinct and different powers. Yes, magic has been well established as being something that is much stronger than semblance and dust, but semblance can do things that magic cannot. Dust, yeah, magic can pretty much do everything that dust can, but it can be utilized in many different ways. You can't, unless you want to use someone who has magic as a battery source to power your furnace or something like that, but considering how rare magic is, I don't really think that's going to be the case, not to mention not really humane to use someone like that, but something for a different time. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think that magic, semblance, dust are all very similar in same powers, or at least semblance and magic? Because I know dust is more of a mineral, but still, etc. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I want to start making more videos more frequently, so hopefully that'll happen. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe if you did enjoy this video and want to see more, and I'll see you guys in the next one.